Yes! Welcome into Sportsbet Betting Insight today, Monday, June 20th. Pauly and Teddy, big game breakdown. Two great games to talk about. Nationals and the Dodgers at Strasburg against Kershaw. Cubs and the Cardinals. And we continue our team previews. Carolina Panthers and the play of the day. Well, either way, we were going to see history. Would the Cavs knock off the Warriors and join the 78 Bullets as the last team to win a Game 7 on the road in the finals, or the Warriors complete the best season in NBA history? Well, the Cavs did it, and they win 3 in a row. And a great tweet by SBR. This is the first time the Warriors lost 3 games in a row since 2013, Teddy.
So who do we point the finger at? Because that's where it starts. You know, it doesn't start with who played great, because let's be honest, if you watch the last 4.5 minutes of that game, there were a lot of bad possessions. It was not pretty offensive basketball. That being said, you got to start pointing fingers. No, we don't. The first thing we got to do is congratulate the city of Cleveland, man. What is it, 52 years, Paul? That's a long freaking time.
1964.
That is a long time. And I know I was watching the game at the SLS here in Vegas with some friends from Cleveland, and there were a lot of tears. There were a lot of people freaking out. I mean, it really was quite a fourth quarter. We'll run through it in just a minute, but let's start with congratulating the city, man. They're a long time coming, and to say they were due, yeah, they were due. Kudos to you guys.
Yep, at one shop after Game 4, adjusted series price, the Warriors were minus 2,300, and the Cleveland did the impossible. After losing the first 2 games and getting buried, they won 4 of the next 5, and LeBron James, MVP, that was a no-brainer going into Game 7. The last 3 games, he averaged 36, 11, and 9.
Meanwhile, the Warriors, one good offensive trip the last 4.5 minutes. 4 shots, bad turnovers. They did not play with poise. They did not play with patience. Well, the Warriors lost this, I think, every bit as much as the Cavs won it.
How do you think the media treats Curry now?
Well, that's an interesting question because, Curry's kind of been the next greatest hope for the media. And you just wonder if this is end of the innocence for Steph Curry right here. Over the last 2 games, look at the numbers. It wasn't pretty. He wasn't good offensively. He wasn't particularly good defensively. He got in foul trouble. He had issues. And as a point guard, 3 assists in the last 2 games doesn't cut it. So, to say that Curry's all of a sudden going to become a villain, he's still going to be the good guy, I think. He's still going to be the one that people respond to in a way that a lot of people don't respond to LeBron James. That being said, LeBron James showed who the best player on the planet is in Game 7, and I don't think there's any question. You can't have that argument right now. LeBron won.
Curry 6 of 19, Clay 6 of 17. What would have happened if Draymond Green didn't go off?
I mean, it might have been ugly, but we should really go through this fourth quarter because this fourth quarter was something, man. Again, I'm watching at the sports book with a bunch of guys from Cleveland. And 7 minutes left. LeBron takes her to the hole. The Cavs go up 3, and everyone's feeling good if you have Cleveland. I mean, they really are. And the fact that LeBron hadn't touched the ball the last couple of sessions, and now, bang, he touches it, he gets to the basket, he puts it in. All of a sudden, that was a moment for me where I'm like, LeBron just might do this. He really might provide redemption for this whole town. And then, of course, Curry hits a 3. J.R. Smith jacks up a terrible shot. Klay Thompson hits the 2. The crowd's going nuts. The Cavs called timeout, and everybody, near tears. And they come out of the timeout, and it's another bad shot, and LeBron is not getting the ball on every possession like he's supposed to. Green hits a shot. The Warriors are up 4, and all of a sudden, it feels real different for Cleveland. I mean, talk about a fourth quarter switch. I mean, this is a championship on the line, Paul.
No, you're right. And then LeBron comes out, hits all 3 free throws after he's fouled by Ezeli. Kerr, you were awful in this series. You were horrendous in Game 5, playing 11 guys in the first quarter. Why is Ezeli in the game, let alone guarding LeBron James?
And I'm with you on that. I mean, if you want to talk about a coach that did not have a great series, Steve Kerr did not have a great series. Now, both of us had major issues with Kerr winning that Coach of the Year award. And I know that Golden State did something that nobody else has ever done. I'm not sure how much of that was Steve Kerr. And, we talk about the job that Terry Stotts did, for example, in Portland is one that stands out. But, Ty Lue, he's not a coach with a whole lot of experience. He's a guy you're supposed to be able to scheme against. And if you looked at those Golden State possessions, if you go through them, I mean, bad possession, Curry 3, That was a terrible. And then that awful Thompson miss. That was a possession. I'm like, the Warriors really are going to lose this game because they all stood around and Thompson's kind of like dribbling. He's like, oh, I guess I better jack one up because nobody's moving and the ball's not moving. And then Draymond Green with the pull-up three. And then LeBron blocks Iggy. And then Curry jacks up and misses a three. So, those shots that only look pretty when they fall. So the Cavs haven't scored during all of this. I mean, the Warriors could be up 10 and instead they're tied. And now Kyrie hits the shot. And yeah, Cleveland, now you get your own the shot. It's Kyrie Irving's three. All hell breaks loose. They played great D on that last possession. Hell, Kevin Love was playing great D tonight. What'd you think of that?
What was he, plus 19?
Plus 19.
Yeah, he gave him good minutes.
He did, and then, of course, that last possession, Curry shoots the tough 27-footer, clank. And then, for that 1 minute, LeBron goes to the free throw line. All he's got to do is sink
huge.
one,
Yeah.
And the first one goes clank. And I'm thinking, he broke his thumb, he broke his wrist on that missed dunk. Side and total, guess what? The only ticket I had in that game was under. And I do not want overtime, and I got to have LeBron making this three. And if you have Cleveland, everything's hanging in the balance here. Second shot, nothing but net. 50 years of pain and suffering and agony come to an end. That was fun, Paul. That really was. As a fan, as a bettor, that was a fun game 7.
It was, yeah. You're right about that. And the over was a bad bet. Never had a chance, and you just saw it, especially once they got into the second half. Cleveland was taking a lot of time on every possession. And one more thing going back to Kerr. Harrison Barnes again, Teddy. He finished the last 3 games, he was 5 of 32, and he wouldn't hit the eject button on that guy. The guy I felt that should have got more minutes was Barbosa, and he couldn't. When he was in there, they made that run to get the 7-point lead at the half, but he went back to Barnes, and again, Lou and Cleveland did a great job. Leave him wide open. He can't make anything. 5 of 32, and the Lakers will probably give him $100 million.
And the beauty, of course, is that Game 7 has been over for, 12 hours? We got lines. We've got numbers. 2017 NBA Championship odds already up, courtesy of the Westgate Superbook in Vegas. You want to read some of those top teams, Paul?
Yeah, sure. Warriors favorites 2-1, Cavs 9-4.
Now, what do you think of that right there? Let me just jump in because there's the Warriors as chalk over Cleveland for next year.
Nah, crazy. Who knows what's going to happen with free agency? Kevin, look at the Thunder. They're 7-1. Durant could leave.
If he leaves, what are the Thunder then?
75-1.
Yeah, probably 70-1, right?
Yeah, right. Right. There's no reason to make a bet with these. No reason. I think where's Portland? That could be great value, but they have a ton of money to spend. They're gonna grab some people too.
Blazers at 61. What about the T-Wolves at 60-1?
Well, let me tell you something. That if they're trying to work out a trade for Butler, if they give up a package with the 5th overall pick and some players and reunite Butler with Tibbs, that's a hell of a team. I mean, it's certainly a playoff team if they can grab Butler.
That being said, you said something that is right on the money. There's no frickin' reason to make any one of these bets right now. These odds are going to be here all summer. They're going to be here into the fall. And to make a bet here and lock your money up, that's just for fans. It's so that a sportsbook gets headlines. And I give the Westgate kudos for putting these numbers out right away, but they're not bettable. There's no reason to bet them now. And you make the case, what about all those people that bet Cleveland on the come at 30 and 40-1 before they signed LeBron? Well, yeah, that all happened in the 2 days before LeBron got signed, for one.
Correct.
And for two, none of them ended up cashing winning tickets. Long shots do not hit in the NBA. All you want is the chalk. And, at 2-1, at 9-4, at 6-1, I don't want the chalk here.
Yeah, very good. The other big sporting event that ended, believe it or not, right before Game 7, the U.S. Open. What a debacle. Congratulations to Dustin Johnson. He's a winner no matter what. He gets to go home to Paulina Gretzky every night. But the USGA butchered that. And you got Fox and Joe Buck and Azinger trying to figure out. I mean, here we are. The in-game betting markets didn't know what to do because looks like he was going to get penalized a stroke after what happened where he addressed the ball when he was putting. And they wouldn't rule till it was over. And then they had the guy come out with the USGA and pretty much say he's going to be docked a penalty stroke. So this was going crazy. Not to mention it took a while to report on it, but finally they said, yes, the other guys behind him have been notified of what's going on. And the players had DJ's back and were outraged at the USGA.
I mean, when you talk about the thing that makes people nuts the most in Vegas, It's always boxing decisions or UFC decisions when it goes to the scorecards because it's not transparent. You don't see it after every round. You don't have an in-game idea of how it's going. All you have is some guy's opinions about what's going on. So you say, what makes people nuts about the PGA? They're not transparent. You never know. You never know what's going on. Or the USGA, I should say. Obviously, havoc in the live betting markets. And, I don't even know what to say about it, Paul. It's like, it's 2016. Be transparent. Make decisions.
Yeah, that would have been a nightmare scenario if he putts and thinks he's winning, or wins it rather, and then you got to say, oh, we got a playoff or whatever, and he doesn't win. I mean, give me another sporting event where it's over, and then after the fact they change it. Here's McIlroy's tweet. This is ridiculous. No penalty whatsoever for DJ. Let the guy play without this crap in his head. Amateur hour. Good point, too, because he had to worry about that the last 9 holes. Jordan Spieth, let me get this straight. DJ doesn't address it. It's ruled that he didn't cause it to move. Now you tell him he may have now? This is a joke. And Ricky Fowler also said, I'm with you, boys. And the fact that the USGA thinks that DJ caused the ball to move is completely ridiculous. Laughable. And everyone on the tour thought the USGA blew that big time.
They did. But guess what, baby? That's not the only thing that went crazy this weekend.
Yes. More bad bets. So how about the Mets? What happened here? They got swept by the Braves at home?
Well, they didn't just get swept by the Braves at home. They were minus $2, minus $250, and minus $180 in the 3-game set. If you started out and bet the Braves for 1 unit on Friday and just let it all ride, you won 22 units in 3 days, man. The Mets' current lineup doesn't have anyone hitting over 280. They're going to head into the World Series rematch with Kansas City on Tuesday, having been held to 2 runs or less 11 times in their last 21 games. The entire Mets lineup looks like Bartolo Colon at the plate right now, Pauly.
Sure. Yep. You're right about that. Was horrendous. How about the Rays?
Well, I mean, they weren't quite as bad at the Mets because the prices weren't high. They only lost at home at minus 145, minus 135, minus 120. Of course, they took money all 3 games. The markets were dead wrong on this series against the red-hot Giants. And, of course, San Fran leaves town. Still red-hot Tampa gets swept at home. Not a good bet at all if you had Tampa this past week.
Big game breakdown up next. Strasburg and Kershaw from Dodger Stadium. It's coming up on SportsBit Betting Insight today.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.
Back on SportsBit, Pauly and Teddy. Here we go. The big one tonight in MLB, Nationals and the Dodgers. Strasburg against Kershaw. Remember, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Look at the price. 185, 5.5 the total. Dodgers favored. And how good has this run been that Kershaw's had? No matter what the odds makers and sports books have done, they haven't been able to slow down this train, Teddy. These numbers are historic.
Yeah, I mean, they really are. It's like Sandy Koufax, the second coming. Okay, Kershaw, 10-1 with a 1.58 ERA. The Dodgers, 13-1 in his 14 starts. So how about a Kershaw under parlay? The last 9 starts, you're going to cash both sides 8 times. And they won a side in the 9th. That was a win over Toronto, but it pushed on the total. So through 14 starts, there have been 10 Dodgers and under parlay winners. 1 side win with the push and only 3 losses. That's not good for the books, Pauly.
Yeah.
But of course, they deal with it by making the Dodger prices so high that it limits the payouts. They can't knock the games down, but by limiting the payouts, it does make something of a difference over time. Remember, in baseball, you can never turn a winner into a loser like you can with the point spread sport, like football or basketball, when a team just gets overvalued. In baseball, when they win, the books have to pay. All they can do is hope sooner or later they lose and price them high enough they can get some of that money back.
But this equation has 2 sides to it. How often do you see a team that's 43-27 and a pitcher like Strasburg who's 10-0 at this kind of price?
I mean, never. Very rarely. Strasburg, 10-0, 2.90. The Nats, 13-1 in his starts. They're 24-3 in his starts since he came off the DL.
Come on
June 23rd of last year. And they're what? A buck what? A buck 60? A buck 65?
Yep.
They're plus 49 in runs in the 14 Strasburg starts this season. They're plus 88 in runs over the last 27 games since he came off the DL. They're not just winning. they're winning for him by margin. And when you look at the MLB ERA leaders, this is over the last 162 games, dating back obviously to last June. You got Arrieta at 1, you got Kershaw at 2, you got Strasburg at 3. Look at that. Bumgarner tied with Lackey at 4 and 5. We're going to talk about Lackey in just a minute. But first, you got to mention something here about Jonathan Papelbon.
Well, listen, if you want a piece of the total here and you say, 5.5, Kershaw, be careful. Because these bullpens, you know about this Dodger bullpen, which has been a joke, and they have nobody to get the ball to Jansen. You got the Nationals bullpen, too. Papelbon wasn't having a great season, but the bullpen has struggled without him. 2 losses, an ERA of 6 since he went on the DL. So you could, it's 1-1 in the 8th, no problem. Remember, just like it was 2-1 against the Cubs in the 9th, and all hell broke loose. That could happen again tonight, so be careful with the total, with the way these bullpens have been going. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Second game, Cardinals and the Cubs from Wrigley. It's Garcia against Lackey. Cubs $1.60, as always, no early totals from Wrigley. The first 2 series, both at St. Louis, the Cubs took 2 out of 3. We've talked about Lackey a couple times on Sportsbet in the news that he's pitching great at 37, but he keeps getting better every start, Teddy. This is not supposed to happen.
No, it's unbelievable. And again, this is not one of these things we expect to go on forever. But when you have a veteran pitcher pitching for a World Series on this type of a run, man, this is the type of thing I'm either riding it or I'm leaving it alone until he shows signs of cracking. 7-2 with a 2.66 ERA overall. The Cubs are 9-4 in his 13 starts. But look at his last 4. He's 3-0 with a 1.01 ERA, and the Cubs won all 4. The guy's just missing bats. I mean, the career numbers, 7.2 strikeouts per 9. His previous career best, 8.5. This year he's at 9.3. And it's the same thing with strike percentage and swing strike percentage. He has been an absolute monster. And all those previous bests, all those previous career bests on that chart were more than 10 years ago. Those are ancient times. So, look, he's already had 2 rematches in St. Louis against his former Cardinal teammates. 14 innings of work, 8 hits, 3 runs allowed, 2 walks, 20 strikeouts. He's been a monster. He won one of them 5-0. He got a no decision in the other, a 4-3 loss in that second meeting.
And believe it or not, the Cardinals are happy to get out of town. They were 0-for on a homestand. They only scored 10 runs. And unless the offense picks up and takes some of the pressure off Garcia, this won't hold up because he hasn't been pitching well.
He really hasn't. I mean, Garcia's struggling right now. 1-4 with a 6.04 ERA over his last 6 starts. 43 hits allowed versus only 12 strikeouts, and that's an alarming stat for me. He's got to rely so much on ground balls, and that gives him 0 margin for error because he's not getting the strikeouts. But St. Louis isn't hitting, man. If you look at the season-long numbers, you're going to see the Cardinals. Look at that offense. You know, we kind of found that out the hard way on Friday night with a wrong side play of the day loser. I'm going to address that on tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
But for today, let's take a look at that St. Louis offense right now this month. Let's see, number 22 in batting average, number 21 in on-base percentage, number 23 in slugging percentage. Those are not bet this team over the total type numbers.
Up next, deep dive. Team previews continue in the NFL. Carolina Panthers in the play of the day on SportsBit. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Pauly and Teddy. Carolina Panthers. Over under 10.5 wins last year. 15-1 straight up, 11-5 ATS, 10-5-1 to the over. A whopping plus 192 in point differential. Only 7 teams were plus 75 or higher. Come on, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, they had the biggest point differential in the NFL by a fairly wide margin, and much of it came from this one stat that stands out like a sore thumb. We look at Carolina and try to project what they're going to do in 2016. Last year, plus 20 in turnovers. Best in the NFL by a wide margin. They had 39 takeaways. Also a best in the NFL by a wide margin. Now, their mainstream stats were still pretty good. They were number 11 offense. They were number 6 defense. And they were plus 0.7 yards per play. That number 6 in the NFL as well. But those aren't 15-1 type numbers.
Yeah.
The 15-1 came from that turnover margin that seemed to be working in their favor every single week.
And all of a sudden, big questions in the secondary. Tillman's coming off a torn ACL. Norman gone to Washington. Roman Harper gone at safety, too. That's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, and Tillman's still unsigned. We don't even know for sure that Tillman's going to be back in Carolina this year. Benwerke coming off of that broken leg. When you look at a secondary that had some issues last year, once the injuries hit late in the season, there's a ton of question in that secondary right now. But the biggest concern to me is Josh Norman. You look at the guy who's taken over from Roman Harper, Trey Boston, his quote, "We all fed off Josh Norman's swag. We definitely took on that persona. We never try to replace anybody. If they go, that's them. If somebody comes in with the same attitude and it's the same person, we let it be. But it's a different team. We don't like to look back on what we used to have. Then you're looking for differences instead of similar traits. Right now, we're trying to get that. We're trying to get guys to become more of their personalities. You want them to relax. You want it to flow. You're going to have a different swag. This is a special team last year. Their chemistry was remarkable. I question initially whether they're going to still be able to maintain or develop comparable chemistry this year, Pauly. And, of course, for a team that was plus 20 in turnovers last year, losing that much veteran talent out of the secondary is clearly problematic. They did sign free agent Brandon Boykin to shore up the secondary. They are counting on second, third, and fifth round draft picks to contribute right away. And they still have a lethal front seven. And they brought back Sean McDermott as defense coordinator. He got passed over again for head coaching gig. This is a defense that's ranked in the top 10 each of the last 4 years. One of only two teams that done that. Seattle the other. But all that being said, with that lethal front seven, the secondary to me, big red flag, and that's something we're going to have to watch out from right from the get-go.
Well, let's talk about the guy who made it go, Cam Newton, from Week 8 through the NFC Championship game. 37 touchdowns, rushing and throwing, and only 4 interceptions. Hard to repeat that, too. Look at this graphic. Here's his quarterback rating. In 2011, 84.5. 2012, 86.2. Continues to go up. 2014, 82.1. And 2015, 99.4. Pretty big jump that year, last year. And note that QB rating always undervalues mobile quarterbacks. Doesn't take into account those running stats and all those touchdowns he had.
Yeah, sure. But again, the huge jump last year after 4 years in the 80s, all of a sudden he's just shy of 100. I'm not saying that Cam Newton's not capable of doing that 2 years in a row. He is. And, of course, they'll get Kelvin Benjamin back at wide receiver. If Newton is that good, this offense is really going to be dangerous. The offensive line is loaded. They had 2 Pro Bowlers last year on that offensive line. But, Kelvin Benjamin, you remember what happened in Vegas when Benjamin got hurt last year? It was like the team's done. They're through.
Yep, I said that too. I said, how are they going to move the football? A lot of professionals and a lot of sharp guys are like, well, that's it. And then the markets went down too. This looked like a 7 or 8 win team when he got hurt.
Obviously was not the case.
What a story.
Yeah, there are big concerns, though. I mean, my biggest concern for Carolina, Pauly, probably on special teams, right from the get-go. You look at Graham Gano. He had 5 kicks blocked last year. They have no punter with any NFL experience on the roster at this time. You wonder, special teams haven't always been Rivera's best suit, and you wonder if special teams could come back to haunt this team somewhere down the road.
How about the schedule?
Well, last year, the other story about them with a plus 20 in turnovers last year was the fact they had the easiest schedule in the NFL, or a top 5 easiest schedule. And week after week, they were beating up on the patsies from their own division and mostly the patsies from other divisions. Now, it's worth noting that this year, they are the first place team. They're coming off Super Bowl appearance, and their schedule is still only slightly tougher than it was last year. Still well below average in terms of strength of schedule. Their division is weak. No other NFC South team is lined even as a 500 squad. And, when you look at the road tilts, it really is not a brutal schedule. They have the 1 trip to Seattle. They have the 1 trip to Denver. The other 6 games look pretty winnable. It's not a particularly tough slate. And this team, despite the loss in the secondary, they did not get decimated like some free agent teams, like some Super Bowl winning teams do in free agency.
Yep. All right. Hey, we finish it out the next 2 days with the Saints and the Buccaneers, and then, hey, we're halfway home.
You're supposed to ask me what my first take is.
Yeah, thank you. All right. First lean, what do you think?
I got to take Carolina over, man. I'm not betting this team under. No, sir. Even with the losses, their schedule and their quarterback are guys I want to be betting on.
All right, play of the day, money time. After we had that 9-1 run, we've come down to earth. 0-4 last week, so we look to break out of it. Play of the day, betting number 908, Cubs on the run line. We're not trying to be fancy or show you how brilliant we are. Dance with who brung you, right? Plus 18 units on the run line year to date. Best in baseball. 13 of the 16 wins by 2 runs or more. Bryant got a couple days off and then homered in each of the last 2 wins over the Pirates. 9:08. Cubs on the run line. The play of the day. Busy show up on tomorrow coming up, and we'll work in some soccer. We got a big soccer game to talk about on SportsBit. Betting Insight today.